What's going on, everybody, and welcome to the Other Side of the Firewall podcast, where we talk about the latest and greatest in cybersecurity news, as well as we highlight those movers and shakers and glass ceiling breakers, those people of color who made it to the other side of the proverbial firewall. My name is Ryan Williams, and as always, I'm joined by Shannon Tynes.
What's up? What's up?
And LeVon Maynard.
Welcome to the show.
What is going on? So welcome to our Wednesday discussion episode. So Monday, we discussed some iOS issues with like thousands of compromised apps. So definitely tune in for that one, where I eat crow. Tuesday, we discussed how there was a breach of student loan information. 2.5 million people were hit with it. It can have some implications in the future when it comes to the campaigns that will come about to deal with the cancellation of student debt. So definitely tune in for that one. It may affect you. So that's how the news gets you, right? Like, we're going to talk about this recall right after the break. Like, watch these commercials. But definitely tune in for that one. And then today is our discussion. And then Fridays, we do everything else, right? So we call it the weekly rundown. We talk about everything except for cybersecurity. But today's discussion comes from an article written by the Thread Post by Grant C. Burke and Jason Deeren. So this kind of goes back to an article we discussed maybe a year ago-ish. I don't have the exact episode number. I'm terrible with archiving these episodes. There's just too many of them. But I know for a fact we discussed this and its implications. So it's rearing its face once again. So the article is entitled "Tech Tool Offers Police Mass Surveillance on a Budget." So law enforcement agencies from suburban Southern California to rural North Carolina have been using an obscure cell phone tracking tool, at times without search warrants, that gives them the power to follow people's movements back in time, so they can get a pattern of life from your cell data. So this one is called Fog Reveal. It allows police to search hundreds of billions of records from 250 million mobile devices and harness the data to create location analysis known among law enforcement as patterns of life, according to thousands of pages of records about the company. So company was developed by, I think the article said some ex-Intel individuals came together and put it together. So it's definitely talked about in the military community about patterns of life. Like, you hear about it when it comes to the elimination of terrorists, right? So this is now home being used by our local law enforcement. I don't want to badmouth it altogether because there are some practical applications of it. It is very 1984-ish, so I definitely wanted to bring it back on the podcast. But yeah, the company was developed by two former high-ranking Department of Homeland Security officials, so not Intel, Homeland. Under former President George W. Bush, it relies on advertising identification numbers, which FOG officials say are culled from popular cell phone apps such as Waze, Starbucks, and hundreds of others that target ads based on a person's movements and interests. So it's basically reverse engineering the tech that sells things to you, so products and services and goods based on your location, and instead then goes back in time and can show where you're at when you were there and all that good stuff without a search warrant, because it's kind of public knowledge, which is kind of scary. So it's like a mass surveillance application that could be used to help law enforcement to prove that you were somewhere when something happened, or to find missing persons. And that's the good part I want to talk about. So in the article, it talks about local law enforcement is at the front lines of trafficking and missing person cases, yet these departments are often behind in technology adoption. A FOG managing partner sent an email. We fill a gap for underfunded and understaffed departments. So that is the good side of it. So I like to weigh both sides of it. I don't want to be one-sided, but yes, this does feel like an invasion of privacy, but it can be used for good at the same time. But I don't want to talk too much. How do you gentlemen feel about this?
I have some thoughts. I'm going to try to be
succinct, and because I think Shannon has some bigger views than I do, because I'm a little bit more uh, laid back with this kind of stuff as far as like tracking. I feel like um, for the most part, like I'm not too concerned about law enforcement having access to data that they can track individuals, as long as it's like I don't know properly maintained or like authorized. Like not any cop can go in there willy nilly and just like look up ex girlfriend, ex boyfriend, whoever, just to see what they've been up to and like where they've been. Are they cheating on me? Let me find out real quick. Let me look in the database, stuff like that. Um, as long as they have it specific to like, hey, you have to get like a, I don't know, you have to get some sort of, I want to say like a court approval or something like that. Like you're kind of like
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 the
just happened
warrants.
to Trump the other day.
Yeah, okay.
Like you had to get a warrant, exactly, get a warrant to pull up some records for a particular suspect before you actually go into the database. Uh, I think that kind of stuff is okay with me. And as we know, like you mentioned in the article, there's like tracking IDs for like advertisers. Like every advertiser out there already knows where you've been. I get all kinds of notifications, like because I have it turned on my I have like GPS locator turned on my phone. So like Google will send me like, hey, it looks like you went to this location. Send a review about this donut shop you stopped by the other day. Tell us like what you think about it. So like I already know my information's out there. I know T-Mobile has my data as far as where I've been uh, connected to the cell towers. So it's already kind of like out there. If you don't, as long as you're not doing anything shady, I don't think most people would have anything to worry about, unless you're just really like, I don't know. I want to say like a tinfoil hat or something, like you just think like government's kind of come get you because you're just living your life like a normal person. But I guess with that, I'll turn it over to you, Shannon. What you think about this stuff?
You know me too well. So like I've said it. I've said it several times, right? Like I'm the Patriot Act guy, right? Like I
Right.
don't necessarily have a problem with it, but you bring up some good points, right? Like so, who's policing the police, right? We have seen, and I'm not gonna sit here and say that all police are bad, right? I'm not saying that at all, but that bottom 10% that gets caught on tape doing something that we see in the news all the time, like it could be them checking on the former girlfriends and stuff like that, right? Which we've actually done an article about that too. How somebody went and looked up something in the database about somebody, right? Like who's policing the police, which I have a little bit of a problem with. Go ahead, Ryan. Say what you're gonna say.
That's it, right? That we did. It had to do with the laptops inside the squad cars,
Yep.
and how they can be used to do nefarious things, but they are also audited, so
Right.
you're not getting away with the searches. But
Right.
that's all I got.
But again, like who's policing the police, right? So like if they're going to look out for each other, which I'm not saying is the case across all law enforcement agencies, it can get swept under the rug, right? I find it harder to do in a larger law enforcement agency, right? Like if it's the NYPD, there's 38,000 of them, right? Like it's just not going to keep happening. But like if it's Podunk wherever, in Mississippi, with only like 4 deputies, like it can happen there, right? You know what I'm saying? Um, but like here's a way to view this, right? And I realize that they mentioned in the article that doesn't give away your personal information, right? It's just the IDs and the pattern of life stuff to kind of track somebody. But here's where this could have helped if and I hate to say this because I know how it's going to come off, like if they'd have taken it a step further, right? So remember how Breonna Taylor, the whole reason for them showing that up at her home was because they had intel that wasn't current, right? The last intel they had about the gentleman they were looking for that was there, I shouldn't say gentleman, the person they were looking for that was there was 5 months old. You know what I mean? So like if they were using this correctly, and if they could have known this guy hasn't been here for 4, 5, 6 months, whatever it may have been, that all could have been avoided, right? And I'm not trying to get into other things about that, right? There's some other things with that could be done, like no knock warrants and things like that. But that could have been one of those situations where this could have helped, right? Like if they had something that was tracking appropriately for who they're looking for. But again, you got to do it right? LeVon, you're right on that. You got to do it right. And I admit, even on the Patriot Act guy, I'm not saying it's 100% and it's all good, right? But I think sometimes it can help more than it hurts. You know what I'm saying? Now I say that not having had it hurt me, you know what I mean? And I would probably feel different if I was on the other end of it. But no, I mean, there are some good ways to use this. As you mentioned, Ryan, there are some good applications to be used for this, which, especially when it comes to missing persons or things of that nature, right? Like we can see they went here, 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 and here, you know what I mean? So we should start
Right.
in these areas. But That's kind of my stance on it. But yeah, you guys know me too well, you know.
That's right.
Yeah.
Which
So
is
yeah, so I'm in agreement as well. Though, right? Like there needs to be regulation. Like it can't just be something that your local law enforcement just purchases and can just use um, at their leisure, right? Who is policing this? Like because it can be used for some really good stuff, right? Like, okay, this person went missing, and now we can go back in time to figure out like where were they going? Were they going to certain houses or doing certain things? And then maybe we can find out like, okay, this person took them or had something to do with it. Um, but again, like it's a slippery slope. Like I'm afraid of a situation where this is used to uh, profile, right? Okay, you're constantly going around this bank, and now potentially because you're surveilling it and you want to rob it. Maybe not. That's just your pattern. That's just how you get to and from work and what have you. You just don't vary your traffic patterns, which you should do, by the way.
good option.
Never take the same route all the
Yeah,
time.
good
Don't do it.
But
It's just it makes me nervous about it being used to predict behaviors that won't happen, right? Like some minority report type stuff. So that does scare me. Like, but if you're using it for a specific target, especially when it comes to missing persons, trafficking persons, I'm all for it. But it just has to be clear, delineating lines. Like it's used for this, but not for that. That would make me feel more secure.
And I hear you on the Minority Report thing, because that's the exact same thing that came to my mind before you said it. Like I was gonna be like, Minority Report was what I was thinking about. But like how much of a leap is that, right? And this is where we may vary, right? Like I think that's way off, way off the line, right? Like we're not gonna get to that point until if you are as in law enforcement is doing their job properly, they should not be doing anything to you until you've actually committed a crime. I can stand outside a bank on a public sidewalk for as long as I need to, as long as I'm not disturbing anyone. No one is put off by my appearance or anything. If I'm not going around like yelling at people and grabbing them, you know what I mean?
Right.
Like I'm fine, right? Like you can't come up to me and put me in handcuffs and be like, "Hey, you've been standing on the sidewalk for this amount of time." That's just not something we're not there, right? It's the same. It's the same way that when certain people get into office in the White House, all of a sudden these gun companies make a lot of money, right? Because people they take those next steps forward to say, "Oh, this is going to happen. It's going to happen." It never does. People just
they're gonna take my guns or whatever. Yeah.
Exactly.
So and I can see that as well. It's just I don't know, man. Like I do, like what is the second and third order effect? So again, I do see some really good applications of this technology. So I hope it does become more polished, and they can use it to find people when necessary. But I just again, like I think that is the future of predictive modeling when it comes to criminal behavior. Because they can already sell you stuff like you think your phone's listening to you, but it's not. It just knows you that well that hey, I can sell you this thing. But AI is biased, right? So what if they do decide to use it in that type of threat modeling? Like, will it be biased against a certain type of person? Like who's to say? But this is years down the line, right? I'm thinking like future tech, future crime tech. But like just the application of said products, just they need to be scrutinized to make sure they're not being put into the nefarious hands. That's all I'm saying. But we will see. We'll see what the future holds, right? Like a year from now, we're talking about it actually being out there, like RoboCop style. So got police dogs chasing people down.
Then I gotta eat my crow, you know. Then I gotta eat.
I'm like, yo, you saw this? You saw this police dog mauling? You saw
it? It wasn't supposed to be
robot,
so
police robot dog. But we'll see. We'll see what comes of this. But great conversation. Thank you, Shannon. Thank you, LeVon. Definitely continue to tune in to the podcast. Check out all of our social media that goes by the podcast name. Hit me up. Personally, I'm at RYRY Security Guy. That's RYRY Security Guy. LinkedIn, Twitter, TikTok, and Clubhouse. And you, LeVon?
Yes, sir. You can hit me up on the Twitters at LeVon Maynard.
There it is. Stay safe. Stay secure.
Take care.